I was born and raised in Detroit. I love my city. I adore all the growth and the architecture and all the amazing things we've accomplished, whether it be Motown or the automotive industry. And as I've traveled the world and spent time and lived in different places, I find that there's no place like home. Detroit will always be home to me, and it'll always be a place that I love. I love this staple, which is amazing. And it really inspired me to do my podcast, which is called Detroit Girl Transformed. I decided to do this podcast on Resilient Radio, which is a Black-owned station based in Detroit. And it really highlights the transformation of my city while I, as an individual, was transforming. And what kind of people come out of Detroit, which are really people with hustle and grit, who are determined and also exhibit perseverance. The podcast will really focus on different people that have different phases of transformation, whether it be their finances, their well-being, their travel experiences, how they transform their relationships, how they transform their spiritual beliefs. Because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, and that's what's best for our city, and that's what's best for our legacy and our future and our family.
Opportunity.
All right, thank you, DJ. I know you have some more hustle and grit songs for us after the podcast. But first, let's go ahead and get into some transformation insight. So as I was thinking about what does transformation mean, I went to Google, my trusted friend, and AI BJ, our trusted friend. So transformation, according to Google, can refer to change, the rebuild, the metamorphosis, and it is a gradual shift and a dramatic change in form or appearance. So as we talk today, we're going to be discussing the power of that transformation. So super, super excited to hear from these two transformational leaders who I know have poured into many of our lives, as I can speak on Toni and definitely John, and just what you have been able to overcome and bring to the world this year and over the past couple of years. Good. All right. So let's get into the questions. My first question, Jay. Call you Jay or John?
Yes, ma'am. Jay.
It's Jay. I'm going to call you Jay.
Jay works.
All right. So Jay, this first question is for you. So can you tell us how you became or how you came up with the idea for your business, Potty Products? I'm so excited to take that home. I might just put it on my shelf and not use it. Just proud of you, brother.
Amber, like a good giveaway.
Okay, I'm here for the giveaways. And the Resilient Radio stream. And then talk to us about the meaning behind both of them.
Gotcha. Well, Potty Products, right? So that's potty-products.com. Same day, next day shipping. Nationwide, just in case you wanted to know that.
Period.
But yeah, I have some real estate property in the city of Detroit. I'm a Detroit native too, and the property was vacant. This was about 7 months or so prior to COVID, and I had an aha moment. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the space itself, and I said, well, if I didn't want to create something that would require me to be there every day, so I thought of a fulfillment center, and then the topic turned to, well, what kind of product do you want to place in this fulfillment center? And of course, we're like, well, what can everybody use? It was, toilet paper, right? And everyone was like, are you crazy? Toilet paper. Now remember, this is 6-7 months prior to COVID, right? So I sourced my product, tried to, get it, had it created, knocked on the big doors. They told me, you're too small, get out of here. You're not doing enough volume, go away. 500 no's. So I began to source the product myself. And as you guys know, January, February, the following year, COVID came. Now, my facility wasn't finished, it wasn't completed. Being an entrepreneur, you wanna make sure that the building looks like this, right? So I put almost 4,000 cases of toilet paper in a public storage, right? So when you opened up the door, it was floor to ceiling full of toilet paper. And then I started seeing on the news, people were fighting at the Costco, fighting at the Sam's Club for toilet paper. And I said, you know what, you better launch this. So it was difficult because being an entrepreneur, I wanted everything to be perfect, right? I wanted to have my staff and everything, but I called up the guys and said, hey, pull the truck up to this door and we getting ready to start selling toilet paper. So that's how we launched it. We launched it and we sold out nationwide. We were shipping toilet paper to Florida, to California, to all over the place. And then the big box stores started knocking. And there we go. So now we're in Menards. We're in 16 different cities nationwide and we're rolling. We're here. Thank you.
Awesome. And then tell us a little bit about the meaning behind the resilient radio stream.
I mean, come on, you have to, we've all had to be resilient to some capacity. And the streaming channel itself was a segue from Potty because while I was advertising for Potty, I began to realize how much money the advertising companies were making off of me. And I decided to make my own pulpit, right? And actually, it's almost a year anniversary to the station starting. And I had to be the first host on the show, which is a variety music show every Friday from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. with no radio background. And I remember sitting at the screen with 2 listeners and asking myself, you sure you want to do this? But it's too late now, right? I'm in deep. And that 2 slowly went from 2 to 2,000 to 20,000 to now over 1 million listeners a month. But the term resilience is, believing in yourself, because you're not going to let you down. So you have to be resilient and knowing that even if the naysayers are saying you're crazy or why are you doing this, believe in your dream. So, and here we are.
All right. So shout out to you.
Yes,
2 amazing
absolutely.
businesses. So thank you so much for that, Jay. So this next question is for Toni. Toni, congrats on launching your podcast today. Oh my gosh, y'all, give it up for Toni and her podcast, Detroit Girl Transformed. I cannot wait to tune in. So can you tell us a little bit about the name of the podcast and how it originated?
Yes. Well, first of all, I'm from Detroit, which I like to call Detroit. For those of you that know, we're French. No, I'm just kidding. But honestly, the podcast, and Amber gave a great definition of transformation. I really reflect on the evolution of the city and how I've evolved. This is now my 4th state I've lived in. And so I think that I wanted to focus on, instead of focusing on a specific topic, I wanted to focus on transforming different parts of your life. So do you want to transform your travel experience? We're going to have a cool episode. Where my South Africa crew at? Whoop, whoop. We're going to have a great episode about transforming your travel experience from leisure to cultural experiences that really inspire you to be a better human. And, you want to transform your finances. Do you want to transform how you show up in corporate America? Do you want to transform your well-being? We're going to have a whole section on wellness and talking about giving you some tools to really go and use and apply in the everyday stressors that we have, especially post-pandemic. So I wanted to not box myself in. For everybody to know my personality, I can't be contained. So I wanted to make sure I had something that was diverse, a diverse portfolio, as well as I wanted to highlight where it all started. I'm just a Detroit girl that grew up on Wyoming and Schoolcraft. For those of y'all that's from Detroit, caught 3 buses to high school, 3, and it was cold in the D. And so, and I would have never thought I have my own podcast. I'm co-authoring a book, The Empower Black Female Leaders. So it's really about inspiring people to bet on yourself and really go after your best version of yourself. And also talking about that I'm a city girl. Well, not a city girl. I can't say that no more. A girl from the city of Detroit. But I'm not, shout out to the city girls, but a girl from the city of Detroit that really have big dreams, and I'm going after it. And you never stop dreaming. I think we should continue to dream until we take our last breath.
I love that. Love that. So shout out again to the Empower Black Female Leader. Oh my gosh. If you have not read Toni's chapter, I read it out loud to my family when they were I was like, y'all just gotta listen. And I'm like, that's true. She taught me that. That's true. She say that. So it is so good. So shout out to you. So talk to us a little bit about what we can expect on season 1. Because we're gonna say season 1, right? We going for seasons, okay?
Yeah, I think I'm on the hook for 2-3 seasons, right?
All right. We're gonna be on the hook for 12 after
I'm locked
this.
in. I'm locked in.
All right. So tell us about the first season of the podcast. What should we expect?
Well, this is the first episode. So this is about transforming your goals into actions, right? So this is a different kind of vision board experience. We are going to give you the tools to have a visual of what you want to look at. Some people are going to do digital boards. Some people are going to do the actual vision boards. But I also want to talk to you at your tables about, hey, how do you want to set your intentions and make them realistic? For example, saying I want to lose 100 pounds. Is that realistic in 2 months? And is that healthy, right? And so the first episode is really about transforming and setting your intentions for 2025. Some of the other episodes are going to be a variety. I have some executive chefs. They're going to talk about transforming your experience from farm to fresh table cooking and cut, some of the charcuterie boards that we like to look at. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about transforming your travel experience. We're going to talk about the South Africa trip. We're also going to talk about the transformation of people who have left their hometown. So I'm going to have a group of people from Detroit talk about their transformation coming from Detroit to DC and what that means for their career. We're going to do some financial literacy and have some real good conversations about estate planning and just transforming how you look at the monetary coin and how you invest in yourself long and short term. I know we like to have the Gucci bag. I do too. But if you have the Gucci bag, but you don't have any plans, if something happens to you and your family, like let's really have some long and short-term goals and then make some investments so that we can do generational wealth and legacy. We're going to talk a little bit about well-being and self-care. I'm actually leaving on Monday to go to Miraval in Arizona, where I'm going to be on a spiritual retreat by myself, okay, just for a week and really spend some time on well-being and really depositing back into me. So it's going to be a good time. I have a ton of experts. I always have people like, put me on your podcast. I'm like, well, season 1 kind of locked, but we can lean into it. But I'm very fortunate to have an incredible network of very talented individuals. And so it was just a matter of either making a phone call or them calling me. We're going to have 2 to 3 physicians talking about Black women health, especially, Black women are 3 times more likely to die at childbirth. And so we're going to have some medical professionals talking about that. So it's just going to be a variety of really transforming your lifestyle, your experience. So I hope you all tune in. We got enough scanner codes around. Make sure you sign up for the Resilient Radio stream and look forward to. And he has some other dope podcasts on there. Like I like the Boxing Heads podcast. Y'all know I go to Boombox every Saturday. So shout out to my Boombox crew. But just make sure you check us out. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. So many gems are being dropped today. Now it's time for us to take a commercial break and highlight our sponsors that are also great champions of transformation. If you would like to be a sponsor for this podcast, be sure to reach out to me, your host, Toni Carter, at dgt313podcast@gmail.com. Again, that's dgt313podcast@gmail.com. I am excited about the sponsors, and I hope that you have enjoyed the podcast so far. Now it's time for a commercial break. It's transformation time, baby.
I like shiny things. You like shiny things, got us in trouble. We like shiny things, thought it would change our world. We like shiny things.
Awesome. So I am excited. You have just given us a lot of good content already to think about. So definitely make sure you scan the QR codes that are around the room so that you can join the podcast. So this question is for both panelists. So we'll start with Jay. We'll start with you. What inspired you to become an entrepreneur? And when did that journey start for you?
Oh, wow. I think that journey started at 13, 14, real early, right? I guess you can say you can remember your parents as an adolescent not being so fortunate to have the things and stuff that some of the other classmates may have had, wearing your brothers and sisters' clothing, right? Those those were always arguments during the day. And yeah, just that first job or so, right? Just, you worked 40, you saw your check, and you saw what they took before you got your check, and you said, nah, that's probably not going to work for me. And so it was just a matter of finding your lane, right? Because, to me, I have a thing where I say the faster you get to the L, the quicker you can get to the M, right? So you got to take the L's in order to get to the money, right? And so many people are afraid to take an L, but the L's are the lesson, and that's entrepreneurship, right? How can you build a good team? Can you empower others? And energy. I am a high energy. I believe in energy, deeply, right? Being around the right energy can catapult your day or it can destroy your day. And that's all in entrepreneurship for me.
Love that. I love give it up. Give it up for Jay. That was so good. And we got to change, I think what you said, we have to change that L thinking about the loss to the lesson. Like, that's big. That's big for us. Every loss is not a loss. It can be a lesson for us to learn from. I love it.
You got to learn how to fail forward. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Fail
Okay.
forward.
Fall for it, yep. Fail for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Toni, what inspired you to become an entrepreneur, and when did that journey start for you?
Well, I think Jay's been knowing me since I was a baby, by the way. I don't like people to tell me what to do. Right, Jay?
No, tell me about it.
But I've actually been very fortunate to be surrounded by entrepreneurs. So growing up with Jay, my sister started a transportation company in the city of Detroit that was doing really well. My father, a lot of people don't know this, my father owned a fish market in Clearwater, Florida when I was very young. So I had an opportunity to be inspired by so many people growing up that were entrepreneurs at a very young age for me. And then as I got older, I was inspired by my network. So I was gonna go around the room because I love to give my friends flowers, right? Jamel has an amazing business that we'll be spending some time on. Emery has real estate and is doing some great things around real estate and just really educating me on multiple streams of income. Kianga who has done an amazing job, by the way, setting up this event, has her own company for day of event planning. The owner of Parik is my family. Him and his wife are amazing entrepreneurs in multiple streams of income. And so I'm continuously being inspired by people that are around me that are stepping out to do things on their own. I think about Devin. When I first met Devin, we were going to a wax studio, and now she owns her own waxing studio. And I'm not gonna call her age out, but she's younger than quite a few of us in the room, and she has an amazing studio and is doing such a great thing. So first of all, I always say, be inspired by the people around you. And if you're not inspired by the people around you, change your scenery. Change your scenery. So that is what inspired me to be an entrepreneur, is the people around me and understanding that in corporate America, I'm gonna go as far as corporate America wants me to go. But when it's up to me, the sky's the limit.
Love that. Shout out to you for that. I know. I hear some snaps and claps. I'm here for it. Yes. So another question for both of you. So Toni, we'll start with you since you kind of alluded to this. What does the term transformation mean to you?
So I went to a 12-week course with executive women leaders on transformation. And it is about creating a future that you did not know exists. So it's really about what if the impossible is possible, and just really shifting and drastically changing something in your life. Sometimes it's just boundaries, right? And so I think transformation for me is really understanding that I don't have the life sentence of the person that I decided I should be. I have the opportunity to be inspired to be the person that I could be.
Very nice. Very nice. So Jay?
And that would be it.
He said what she said.
What he said.
Mic drop. Let me see. Transformation to me, my first thought would be the ability to pivot. And, fearless. Transforming, pivoting. And I'm just big on, as you would say, taking the lessons and saying, well, you know what? What did I learn? What did I gain? Next, right? I don't wallow, right? Because again, I think Every lesson learned is in preparation for the success. And that's transformation. Having the ability to understand that is transformative in itself. That's transformation.
Right. So are y'all taking all these little nuggets they dropping? Yes. My sister said, I have my notes right here. Okay. All right. So Toni, let's talk about joy. What brings you joy?
Italy. Emery knows this, my home country.
Louis.
Italy. Lake Como specifically. No, I'm just kidding. Really seeing people that I love just really flourish and living out their dreams. And it really brings me joy when I have an opportunity to live out the best version of myself. That brings me joy. What brings me peace is truly creating an environment that protects my energy.
Protect your energy. That's real, especially thinking about transforming, right? Some things you have to let go because you got to shed a couple things in order to change, right? Yeah. So I love that. So Jay, this question is for you. We were talking about peace here. So what or where is your peaceful place?
You know what? It's definitely kind of weird, but my peaceful place, I would say, is right now. You know why? Because I get to see, I get to push what I saw in her out. So it's peaceful to me because I stayed on her about, don't give it to corporate America, give it to the world. Stop giving it to, let's go. Let's, here's the pulpit, let's go. And it's the same kind of on the station as well. I have about, 8 to 10 hosts, different podcasts coming on. And it's always, a lot of the talented people are kind of reserved, or they have a little fear of that next step sometimes. And I see everything in them. I see, girl, you can get out here, you can do this, and just being able to be supportive to them and, being that rock, that's kind of peaceful for me. And then when it comes into fruition, that's my, I told you. It's peaceful.
And Jay is a great coach. He gives a good mixture of knowing when to push and when to allow you to move forward on your own. So I haven't really seen that mastery outside of work. And so he was really good about giving me some space, but then pushing, then be like, okay, now I'm gonna have to double down and push you a little bit farther. But I think, and he has such a diverse group. He has he's filming in Scotland. He has line dancing in Connecticut. So in order to have that capability to push such a diverse population, it's got to be definitely a little bit of Black boy joy inside of him to do that.
Yeah, I love that Black boy joy. Is that right, Jay?
Black boy joy.
You're like, I guess, yeah.
Black boy joy.
All right. So this question is for both of you. Toni, we'll start with you. We have been talking about this a lot, so I think I can name a couple of these, but what are some of your hobbies and favorite things to do?
Travel, for sure. You be with me most of the time. I actually, I like to do different things. So I'm the person that invites you. Like, I'd be like, y'all want to go make some perfume, make our own scent? I think we're doing that in a couple of weeks.
She did.
Yeah. So I like to do things out of the box, except for like life threatening. Like, I'm not going to bungee jump. I'm not going to be that person. But so those are some of my hobbies. I love boxing. I love the Peloton. So I'm a part of that whole squad. So those are some of my hobbies. And then I like to write. I don't write as much as I used to, but my best friend Yana will give me 55 journals and 75 books to remind me of a gift that I have always had. And so I'm very thankful that I have people surrounding me that be like, don't forget you can read and write now, But I used to write poetry when I was younger. And I used to love Emily Dickinson. She was one of my favorite poets. And so I just love to do those things. But I also just like to sometimes go in a great scenery and have dinner by myself. So it's just a variety of things.
We love that. So if y'all want to hear one of Toni's poems at the end, we'll give her some time to think about it. Pull up one of those poems. We want to hear it.
Got your fingers.
Okay, we're ready.
Wow, time flies when you're having fun. So many gems are being dropped today. Now it's time for us to take a commercial break and highlight our sponsors that are also great champions of transformation. If you would like to be a sponsor for this podcast, be sure to reach out to me, your host, Toni Carter, at dgt313podcast@gmail.com. Again, that's dgt313podcast@gmail.com. I am excited about the sponsors, and I hope that you have enjoyed the podcast so far. Now it's time for a commercial break. It's transformation time, baby.
All right, Jay, what about you? What are some of your favorite hobbies or
I would say to create, right? And that could stretch to, I love to cook, but that's creating, right? From scraps to a final product. And I'm a general contractor by trade, so that builds right into the ability to want to create, right? You have a vision oftentimes that people can't see, right? Because you're walking into places and have to picture it. And to me, it carries over into entrepreneurship because that's how every business starts. You have to see it before everybody else does. So that's kind of my peaceful place, is just creating. You can kind of fill in the blank as long as it's a mess on the table and we can kind of put it together. That's kind of peaceful too.
Yeah, I think that's important, right? We talked about mindfulness a little earlier. And as we all know, we have to have somewhere where we can just go to a place and forget about what we hear, what we see, and just really be one with ourselves. So important for us to know that peaceful place.
Oh, yeah, and I forgot to share this, and I can't believe BJ didn't remind me. I will spend a shift at the spa. Look at BJ. He done left me at Bali and Springs. Me and Alicia go to King Spa. Now, I will pull, I'm talking about open to close. And I'll be like using all the amenities 3 times, and I love to swim. That's the other thing. I love to swim. So I don't know how I forgot about that because I have to do that once a month.
Yeah. And there are no lies told. I've pulled a shift with her. BJ said, "No, ma'am, you take that shift." I was like, it can't be that bad. Yeah, we were 8 hours later. It was. So Toni, let's talk a little bit about your career in HR. So tell us a little bit more about your 20 plus years. Shout out to you because HR is a hard
job. Still holding on, y'all. 20 years of dealing with people in HR. So yes. I want to shout out to Nicole because this was my first HR. I was her HR partner at Sears. I'm going back 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was my first multi-unit job. Mm-hmm. And I want to give her flowers first because that's important to me. Yeah. I was so afraid to travel by myself. We was going to Lima, Ohio, okay? And I was like, y'all know I'm brown? Y'all know? And the coach, and I did not know her at the time, she changed her entire schedule to travel with me for the first couple of months. And that was a true testament to sisterhood. And 20 plus years later, we're living in the same state, but I will never forget how she helped me become comfortable with multi-unit HR. So shout out to Nicole.
Hey.
So y'all want to hear some HR stories? Child.
She have them.
So I would say I would recommend for anybody in any field, especially HR, where it is very high people facing, evolve your space in that career. So I started out my very first job. Emery and y'all remember this when I was pulling that little what can Brown do for you? I was recruiting for UPS. For UPS, baby, that shift from 3 to 7 in the morning. If you can hire somebody for that, you can hire somebody for anything. So I started off in what we call specialty, which was specific to recruiting. And then I went and I was working for the Crown Plaza, and I was like, oh, I met a corporate trainer. I was like, I want to do corporate training. So I spent some time doing training and development. And then I got educated on which department is the first to get cut when the budgets get cut. I said, well, I better pivot this because I like to shop. So I went into what they call a generalist role, which is where I do a little bit of everything: compensation, benefits, organizational development, change management. So I spent some time, my very first HR generalist role specifically was at Home Depot. And I was in the city of Detroit, but y'all from Detroit on 7 Mile Myers. So I was with the people, okay? Got a lot of experience in employee relations, got a lot of experience in leadership. Then I went on to Sears with Nicole, which is my first multi-unit job. And I think multi-unit teaches you a little bit about how to be in 3 places at once effectively, but only be in one place at a time. So I learned a lot about multi-unit leadership at Sears. And also Sears is really known for talent development. Then I came over to Walmart with me and Amber Child. Now Walmart changed the game for me. That's just the truth. I mean, I have my little Walmart jokes, but that working for the #1 retailer in the world, and they relocated me to Chicago. I opened the first urban format store in the United States in Chatham, Illinois. Like Amber have to help me remember sometimes. And so I would say that I had my HR experience, but Walmart taught me how to be a great operational, strategic leader. And so I say that to say I started out as an HR specialist, then I went into an operational leader, and then at Walmart, I became more into the strategy. BJ is also my peer. He liked to let people know I did not mentor him. He was my colleague, okay? So I evolved the HR role, and then that's when I went into more transformative. And then I just did a radical change and said, you know what? I want to get out of retail, and I worked in biotech. Now that was very different because I had an opportunity to work with scientists. I had, Emory pushed me to take that job. He was like, I know you want this job, but I want you to take that job. And it was transformative because that's when I understood, that Black people and Hispanic people are more likely to need the medicine and biotech, but we only represent less than 10% of the industry. So that's where my DE&I landscape came in and say, listen, if we're gonna be the customer, we need to be in the workforce. And so I really started educating people on STEM. And in that role, I had an opportunity to tap into my entrepreneur spirit. It was a startup, so I got a lot of opportunity to do organizational change, transformation. I did executive coaching, like I was the HR business partner for the COO, chief medical officer, the chief scientific officer. And so even though I've been in HR for 20 years, I hope you guys could see the journey that I described, like 10 different roles. Because if I stayed as the same person that was an HR supervisor at Home Depot for 20 years, I would not stay in the position. So by the time where I'm at now, I always tell, because people always say, oh, you in HR, do you hire and fire people? I'm like, if I fire somebody, they make a lot of money and we handing them a package. We ain't really like walking them out the door. So I don't really fire people anymore. I spend a lot of time on organizational change. I talk a lot about transformation and how to connect the strategy to the people needs of the organization. I talk about an inclusive workforce. I've spent time in DE&I. So there are some things at this point in my career that I won't take on, and I don't take on employee relations anymore because I am the business partner to the client. So it's kind of weird if you think I'm investigating you and then I turn around and have to coach you. So I actually do centers of excellence only positions, but it's been a fun ride. And I am one of the few people that went to school for HR and stuck it out. So I didn't have a change in my career, so to speak, but I changed the roles. And right now I focus more on change management, organizational effectiveness, which is like, how do you operate a team and is everybody streamlined to make sure that they understand their roles and priorities, and then transformation and executive coaching. So a lot of times I coach executives on how to really transform and land the strategy of their business for 3 to 5 years.
Very good, thank you. So Jay, this question is for you. Thinking of the name of your station, the Resilient Radio Stream, do you have any examples in your life in which you had to be resilient or overcome battles or obstacles?
I sure do, but I have a little punt and I'm gonna put Mrs. HR on. I have a question for Toni. So with the current administration.
Now we had a discussion about this, Jay.
Well, that ain't in the question.
I mean, this is a podcast. With the current administration, what is your view on how DE&I will be reflected in corporate America now, besides the obvious cancellation of DEI? What can corporations do to ensure that their that their employees, that there's diversity still in their corporations. I know she's gonna get me later, but it was a serious question.
No,
I
people
do
ask
want to
me all the
know.
time.
I do want to know, but I do want to.
So I could give you a couple of things because I think there's an accountability for DE&I practitioners and corporations. So I'll start with corporations. First and foremost, I think this is a time where we got to remember how resilient we are. And it is a time where people are feeling discouraged. And I think to an extent that's an intent, right? Because why are, these executive orders coming out are really targeting people in a specific way. And I just say, first of all, protect your peace and remember it's just a request. It's got a lot of steps before it go through. I think corporations are going to do two things. They're either going to show you who they really are and that they never truly believed in it, and you have to make an informed decision of whether or not you want to be a part of that team, or they're going to be strategic and change the wording and still deliver the product. Because really, this is about lack of education. Let's be honest. These are people who don't understand or have never understood the need for equity. So it's not going to be that hard to wordsmith this. Equity makes me uncomfortable. Let's use the term belonging. Right? Because belonging doesn't seem so radical. It doesn't seem so in your face. So we're wordsmithing things once again to make people feel comfortable. And that is unfortunate. A lot of companies have maintained their stance on inclusion, but they maybe changed the framework of it a little bit so that they don't have to fight the administration to continue to be inclusive with their team, but also understand the evolution and the pivot of where we might be going. That's the first thing. The second thing is there is a responsibility on us as DE&I practitioners to better educate people on what equity truly means. Equity means giving everybody an opportunity for the same seat at the table. If I'm not in a room, I'm not going to know about the opportunity. And if I've never been in a room, if I didn't have an Ivy League degree, I didn't run in that particular circle, then I don't have an equal footing as someone that does. What does diversity mean? It's not just about how you look, because we got to remember that diversity goes beyond, when we think about ADA, there's the disability you can see maybe, and there's a disability that you can't. And so we have an obligation as DE&I practitioners to go back and regroup and better educate on the framework of it, but most importantly, connect it to the strategy of the organization. That was very important to me. I talked about in biotech, only thing I was obsessed with was the patient. And I said the patient is more likely to be a person of color for this particular product that you're marketing. So if that is the most likely, if it's more likely that the patient is a person of color, then why not have them in a room when the drug is being developed so they can advocate it from beginning to launch? And so I did not have a separate DE&I strategy. I had a strategy of inclusion that was built into the organizational 3 to 5 year strategy. And I think as practitioners, the more we learn how to do that so that it's a way of life and not we're slapping on the hand, do it because it's the right thing to do it because it's profitable, do it because it connects to what you're marketing, do it because the workforce needs a safe space to drive innovation and creativity. If I feel I'm welcome, I'm more likely to be innovative. I'm more likely to generate the birth of ideas. Curiosity is really the birth of how DE&I started. So thank you, Jay, for that off-the-cuff question.
Anytime.
But I just say, don't be discouraged, be encouraged.
Absolutely. Resilient, right? 20 years ago, 2004 and 5, I put in a DVD showing the age a little bit. And the DVD was called No Meat. I watched the DVD and it showed all the different various ways of how our meat is tampered with today. 20 years later, I have not eaten chicken, pork, beef in 20 years. And when I tell you some nights I see little wings dancing, believe me, it's true, right? So avoiding chicken has been a sign of the resilient radio. Try that.
Oh, well.
Try that, you chicken eaters.
Discipline. Yes, resilience. I get it. All right. So before we go to the next question, which will be for both of you, I do want you all to know that if there are any questions that you have for the panelists, we will have some time to open it up for any questions from the audience. So this question is for both of you in a moment of reflection. So you've dropped tons of gems, gave us some insight to yourselves as leaders and as entrepreneurs. If you were to think back, what would you tell your 21-year-old self based on what you know today?
You first.
I knew he was going to say that. Two things. Number one, no is a complete sentence, period. And you are enough. You will always be enough. You will never not be enough. And stay true to who you are, because you will always be enough. So be your authentic self.
Nice. Snaps. I'm with you, sis.
21-year-old self. I would say probably kind of like do it with an exclamation mark, right? Stay steadfast. Stay the course. Stay the course. That's what I would say.
Very good. And I know we all can think of something that we will tell our 21-year-old self. So it's okay. Think about that too and put that in your notes. All right. That might be on somebody's vision board, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So before we get to open it up to the audience, this is the last question for both of you. What does the future look like? Like, if you guys are looking into the future, where do you see yourselves in business? Okay.
Balling.
Okay.
The ball.
DJ, we got to hear that song too.
I'll take this one first since I got that one first. Future, how long? What's our distance? Just future in general?
Yes.
Or we got a future in general? Well, I would say as far as for the Resilient Radio stream, I think I would love to have a global platform, which we're global, but giving people who normally wouldn't get a voice an opportunity to have a voice and have a platform, and just fully expand it, And then in terms of my paper tissue supply company, we're doing pretty well. So I would say future would be to just kind of scale into different products, increase my SKUs. We do have organic soap now and Castile soaps as well, but just to continue and just have a black business that challenges Procter & Gamble. Why not?
Love that. We love that. And don't forget to take your Potty Products
And we're not going to forget.
Okay, I'm not. These are mine right here. So I'm going to take it. If you don't take yours, I'll take yours too. But awesome. Thank you so much, Jay and Toni.
The future for me, I definitely see myself in the next 10 years transitioning into being on several boards and fully in my entrepreneurial spirit. I see myself doing something at some point with educating people, whether it's in higher education or some form of educating people, like my line sister, y'all know over there. So I see that for myself professionally. Personally, I really continue to want to be in a space where I'm not in a space where I have to survive, but where I can only thrive. And so that could be well-being, wellness, setting clear boundaries, setting my attention. So really just being the healthiest version of myself, personally, physically, spiritually, and mentally.
Thank you. So let's give it up for our panelists.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Detroit Girl Transformed. Listening to these stories of transformation has not only been informative, but very inspiring. Be sure to join us on Transformation Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Resilient Radio stream. It's transformation time, baby.